Hello and welcome again to a episode of the Healthy Habits for Active Aging podcast. My name is Dr. Michael Gorman,
And I'm Dr. Lauren Bennett.
and we are physical therapists from St. Louis, Missouri. And today we are on our quarter of a century podcast. That's number
Mm.
25. Good job, Lauren. Good job.
Milestone.
And our topic today is building muscle regardless of age. And this is so important. And I can just tell you right now. So I'm 53. So yes, I'm that aging adult that we talk about. And gosh, I feel like in the last 5 years, the body type has just changed. And sometimes I'm like, what happened to my tricep back there? I used to have one. But anyway, I digress, and I don't want to be this to be about me and my aging body. But we want to just talk today about starting to exercise as far as from a strength training standpoint, which is so important. We've talked about this in other podcasts that after the age of 30, every decade, you lose what, Dr. Ben, between 3 to 5% of muscle mass.
Yes, starting at the age of 30, which I am quickly getting to in a couple months.
Oh, I don't feel sorry for you one bit, But again, I think it's, regardless of your age, you could be 85 and you can definitely start a strength training program. But
Mhm.
really, whatever your age, I so encourage you to please make sure that before you start on a strength training program, if this is something brand new to you, I do recommend contacting your physician and just letting them know what's going on and make sure that you get the approval from them. But then going to a personal trainer is definitely not a bad idea. But if you have aches and pains and other things that may require someone like a physical therapist to help you get
Mhm.
started on a training program.
Mhm.
So,
So go ahead. You go. I didn't know. I was like awkward pause. Go ahead.
all right, hold on a sec. Um, okay, we're gonna come back. Okay. A recent study of males over the age of 60, this is pretty interesting, with 16 weeks of strength training. So, it's not just, you can't just go for a week and expect great improvement, but 16 weeks of strength training led to gaining 4 pounds of fat-free muscle mass and gaining 4 pounds of.
Good muscle mass and losing 4 pounds of fat mass.
Okay, let's start over.
Yeah.
All right. A recent study of males over the age of 60, they were on a strength training program for 16 weeks. So you can't just strength train for 1 week and expect anything. You got to keep at it.
Mhm.
But they gained 4 pounds of fat-free mass and they lost 4 pounds of fat mass during this time. So it was a great study. I don't know the specifics of the study, but shows that, again, no matter your age, you can gain muscle mass. And we know we need muscle mass to give our body support and stability. You don't have to just give in to the fact, oh, I've gotten older, that means I can't do X, Y, and Z. That's not true.
Mhm.
There's people in their 90s that are doing triathlons. So for sure we can't just say, well, we're older, so we're not going to do anything. So as we talk about strength training, it's we want to throw a couple things at you to help out. So whether you're 15 and just starting a workout program, or whether you're 30 or whether you're 80, it doesn't matter. You need to do what we call progressive overload. If an exercise, if you're new to strength training, please don't jump in and do 4 sets of 12 of 8 different exercises for your calves or something like that. You have to start really slowly. And it is true, the older that we are, the more we need to break into it a bit slowly. So, we would advise, yeah, we would like for you to work up to maybe 3 sets of 12 reps or something like that. But maybe the first week or first 2 weeks, just do maybe one set of 12 to 15 reps or 10 to 15 reps of a couple exercises per body part, so that your body can just start to break into it slowly. We also, when we're talking about training and you're new to it, regardless of the age, spread it out. Like, don't strength train on consecutive days in the beginning as you get started. Simply put, your body needs that rest day, especially as you're just getting started, to prevent excessive soreness and muscle breakdown and things like that. So do give yourself that day rest. It doesn't mean you don't have to do anything on the day off. Perhaps that's a day you do maybe like 30 minutes of cardiovascular exercise or something of that. So I'm not saying just to exercise 2 or 3 days a week. We should be looking more towards like 5 or 6 days a week, ideally. So maybe those days off are more going to be more cardiovascular exercise. Mm-hmm. And as far as working out, don't be surprised if you're sore. I tell people, even patients I treat, I want you to be sore, to have some level of soreness, maybe for 24 hours or so, 24, 36 hours. I don't want them to not be able to move. But if I'm treating someone, or if someone's getting started on a strength training program, if there's no soreness at all, that means that we probably didn't do enough of that progressive overload. We took it too easy. So we don't want to be excessive, but we have to do enough to stimulate those muscle fibers to do what they should do and grow. Okay. Lauren, anything else so far before I keep going on? I feel like I'm hogging all the airtime today.
No. I think you're doing great. I think that the whole idea of progressive overload is to really challenge a muscle, to force it to use it in a way that it's not used to do things that it's not used to doing. And so, like he talked about, if you have that delayed onset muscle soreness, which we did another podcast on, so refer back to that. But if you experience, that's actually ideal, because your muscle is actually going to have these micro tears. And when the muscle is rehealing, that's when hypertrophy happens. So that's when you're essentially building muscle. So that's the only thing I would have elaborated on. But otherwise, you're doing a great job.
Thank you so much. You mean you're not going to fire me as your podcast host yet? Okay, great. So when we look at different exercises to do, my gosh, there's a million and one things that you could do. We really encourage, especially in the beginning, just to keep it simple and do exercises that will target many muscle groups at one time. For example, doing a bench press, or doing a squat, or a deadlift, or a seated row. Those are not just hitting one muscle group only. But let's say, for example, when you're doing a bench press, you're hitting your pecs, you're hitting your shoulders, you're hitting your triceps. So you're getting the advantage of working many muscle groups with only one exercise, compared to, I don't know, if you're doing just like on a cable or pulley, you can do like a tricep extension. That's not bad, but in the beginning, I think it's really best to do something that will really work many different groups at one point in time. Another thing I would say is, if you go to a gym, there's options. You could do free weights, which is like dumbbells. They have machines. They have a whole host of different things you can do. Mix it up. Mm-hmm. And don't be afraid of dumbbells, because dumbbells I really like, because they challenge your coordination. They challenge your stability a lot more than doing an exercise on a machine. So, but mix it up, challenge your body. Don't go crazy in the beginning. And then, each week, either add another exercise, or add some more sets, or some reps, or something like that, or weight. But I also encourage you to log what you've done. We've talked about this on another podcast or two, and I tell every patient this all the time, is that you need to make sure that you are logging what you do. Like when you go to a gym and all of a sudden you're not just doing range of motion exercise, but using weight. And it gets hard to remember all the exercise and the sets and the reps and the weight. So either bring your cell phone and kind of type it in as you go, or do old school and have a sheet of paper that you write stuff down, or a little folder or something, because that will help you, because then you can look back and you can see the progress that you made.
Mhm.
And then, so as far as like resting in between sets, this can vary as well. But for strength training, we're looking at 2 to 3 minute rest in between. Now, 2 to 3 minutes can be a long time. So maybe you, instead of sitting there and looking at your clock for your watch for 3 minutes or 2 minutes, you can maybe get up and walk around, get some more steps in, get your 10,000 steps in a day. And then ultimately our goal would be, 4 sets of 8 to 15 reps per set. When we talk about strength training, if you're doing sets of 20 to 25 reps, that's not strength training. That's endurance and coordination, increasing blood flow, which is not anything wrong with that. But when we're talking specific about strength training, you want to go think about those sets of 8 reps, sets of 10, 12 reps, things of that sort. And once you achieve 4 sets of, say, 12 reps, then it's time to increase the overload. It's time to add another 5 pounds or a pound or 10 pounds, whatever it might be, depending on the exercise. But that's how you challenge yourself. And you should do that regardless of your age. So I am, I'm exhausted. I've talked for the last 10 minutes. This is a great time for me to shut up and for us to bring our sponsor, iMove PT, on so they can tell us a little bit about themselves, and then we'll be back in about 30 seconds. Okay, so you got this?
I got it. Yep.
Okay. Okay, go for it.
You ready? Okay. Welcome back, and thank you to iMove PT for being our sponsor. We're going to continue on and talk more about diet. So with strength training, we know that protein has a lot to do with building muscle. It's the building block of our body. So we're going to talk about how much protein should your body need to maintain muscle, and then how much protein should you intake to gain muscle, especially over the age of 50 or 60. So older adults do need more protein than younger adults. And it's recommended that older people need up to about 1.3 grams of protein for every kilogram of body weight per day. So all these conversions, but essentially, if you take your weight and you divide it by 2, it's kind of a rough estimate of your kilograms. So we'll use an example of like a 160-pound person. If you divide that by 2, you're thinking about 80 kilograms is your body weight, just to make math simple here. And then you want 1.3 grams times 80 pounds. So an example would be a 160-pound person would need about 115 grams of protein per day to build muscle. So to maintain it is 1.3 grams per kilogram of body weight per day. But if you want to gain muscle, it's actually 1.6 to 1.7 grams of protein for every kilogram of body weight. So that's the example of the 160-pound person needs 115 grams of protein per day to actually build muscle.
Wow, I wonder. I was up in Chicago this past weekend, and I had the best steak ever at Gibson Steakhouse. Have you ever been to Chicago, Dr.
I
Bennett?
have, yeah. Never eaten at Gibson, so.
Oh gosh,
No.
and I saw. I hate to say this because I was engorging myself with food, but I think it was a 14-ounce filet. I wonder how much protein was in that. I should have asked. But I don't think I gained any muscle from it. I'll tell you that much. I think I gained some fat, but not any muscle.
It's better than what we usually go up there and eat pizza and Portillo's and Giordano's. So
oh yeah, had that too.
Okay, so if you're gonna start managing your protein intake, you're gonna want to know when should you consume the protein. So it can be evenly throughout the day, but it's beneficial to consume approximately 40 grams of protein following a workout. So after you do your strength training, right after, they say 40 grams of protein. Some studies will say that you should do another 40 grams of protein before you go to bed. That it's better for metabolizing when you sleep and help boost muscle growth even as you sleep. So that sounds like a good idea to me. And then if you're just looking to kind of spread it out evenly throughout the day, eating 0.4 grams of protein per kilograms of body weight every 3 to 4 hours is recommended. So now you're thinking, okay, if I'm going to start consuming protein-rich foods, what are those foods? Red meat, white meat, quinoa, nuts, fish, eggs, dairy products are all high in protein. A lot of my patients will drink those protein shakes that they sell, Ensure, Boost. I've seen a lot of those. Those are pretty high in protein. Any other supplemental drinks you would recommend, Mike?
There's so many of them out there.
I know.
I mean, I would say that, as you're saying all this, someone should, like, if you're thinking about doing this, really, you should find out what your diet now consists of. Because if you're eating way less protein than this, I wonder if people should be, and again, maybe when Jillian's on in a couple of weeks, we'll ask her that. But if you're going to have this huge bump up in protein, what would that do to your stomach, your GI tract, if you went from like not much protein to all of a sudden you're consuming a lot more? I wonder how that would be. I don't know. But there's so many different like protein powders and so much else, because it's hard. I mean, if you're getting this much protein, sometimes it's hard to eat that many times in a day, like that food. So I don't know.
Yeah. We will stay tuned to Jillian in a few weeks.
Yeah, for sure.
So what about our fatty foods? Like there's good fat, there's bad fat. So the good fat, we want about 20 to 35% of our total calories throughout the day to be from fat. But if you are actually going to be building muscle, you do not want to eat a low fat diet because that won't allow you to grow muscle. So you actually want to consume fat in this case to build muscle, but you just have to make sure that you're consuming a high amount of protein that's recommended. But don't think that you're going to build muscle by consuming a really low fat, low calorie diet to lose weight.
Yeah, that's exactly
two very
right.
separate things. Yeah,
absolutely.
And then vitamin D. There was a study showing that there was a correlation between lower vitamin D and lower muscle strength and performance. So I found that to be very interesting, that 40% of the US population is vitamin D deficient. And where do we get our vitamin D from? I know I like to get it from the sun, probably too much. Fatty fish. There's other ways to get it. And then there are some supplements out there that you can talk to your doctor about. But vitamin D and building muscle strength are very hand in hand. So that was a lot. That was a lot of information to throw out as far as diet goes. And I am not a dietitian, nutritionist, or expert by any means on that, but we are as in regards to exercise. And so we just wanted to start to kind of throw some ideas out there, spark some interest. If you listen to this podcast and you thought, man, I just have no idea how much protein I consume in a day at all, maybe you start to log that. And then you get on a little bit of a strength program. If you start seeing results, great. But if you don't and you have more questions, we're just trying to spark your knowledge, spark your interest. And maybe at that point, you could go talk to a personal trainer at your gym or your doctor, another healthcare professional, or PT that may specialize more in dietetics or that work with somebody with it. But
yeah, I think it's really important for the aging adult, if they're trying to gain strength. I mean, we know what normally happens. We lose that 3 to 5% of muscle mass every decade. So I think it's really crucial to be really hone in on that diet, because it's one thing for my son who's 13, who is getting into working out and he's getting stronger despite having a terrible diet. He can do that, but as you get older, if you're really trying to gain strength, we know it's harder to do. You can do it, but that's where not only do you need that strength training component, but your diet and your lifestyle has to be a certain way. And we haven't even gotten into sleep and how many hours should you sleep. We haven't even gotten into something called sleep apnea, which I think there's a lot of people out there may have sleep apnea that don't even know it. And if you're not getting good quality sleep, it's hard for your body to be healthy. It's going to be hard for your body to hypertrophy, to get bigger, things of that sort from a muscle mass standpoint. So it's looking at everything, but we just definitely wanted to get started on this because there's many aging adults that want to start doing it, but they have no idea how.
Sure. So bottom line, you can build muscle no matter your age. It is possible. If you're listening to this podcast and you're saying, darn, I can't use this as an excuse
No, you
anymore.
Can't be an excuse.
There's plenty of research out there to support Mike and I today. So, but just to know these details of training, recovery, diet, those will all be very helpful for you. And just try to, for the new year, challenge yourself to be a stronger you.
Yeah.
That's
I like that. Be a stronger
you.
Well, again, we hope that we're sharing some great information with you all. That is our goal. That is our passion. If you want to see us see what we look like, go over to the iMove PT YouTube channel and you'll see this podcast on that. And we just have one ask, or the ask that Laura and I have is that you all share this podcast with one person. So easy to share a podcast, and that's how more people are going to hear these great things that, well, I think they're great things that we're saying. But just share it. Just share this podcast with one other person. That would be so helpful.
We would really appreciate that.
Or else I might get fired from Lauren might fire me and get a new younger host or something like that. I don't know.
No. I need to have your insight.
So thank you again. Now, next week, Lauren, let's talk a little bit about who our podcast guest is, because we're bringing a guest in. I get to take a little break next week, maybe a little R&R, and you're going to be. So who are you going to interview next week?
We are going to be interviewing Dr. Mitch Waddles, and he specializes in total hip replacements and total knee replacements. And he does his total hip replacements a particular way. And so we'll leave that to him to explain next week, kind of his rationale behind that, and a lot of the successful post-op stories and his insight on total joint replacements.
That's awesome. I can't wait to hear it. And I can't wait to have a little break for a week, but I know you're going to do a great job. So thank you all for your time, and we hope that you have a wonderful week.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.